Okay, welcome to Pro Mindset Podcast. Today we have Ben Stille, now with the Arizona Cardinals in the NFL. Ben, I want to welcome you to Pro Mindset today.
Appreciate it.
All right, Benny, we go back a little bit. Known you and your family for about the last 6-7 years. You played college football at the University of Nebraska, and you're the pride of Ashland, Nebraska. Did you ever dream that you would play in the NFL?
I wouldn't say that was my first dream by any means. Growing up, soccer was definitely my main sport. And I mean, really one step at a time for me. It was my first dream. Once I realized I wanted to play college football was, to get on the field at the college level, maybe start a couple years, get playing time my last year or two. But yeah, the NFL wasn't really something I thought was attainable until, maybe my last 2 or 3 years once I had already been starting for several years at Nebraska. So it was really kind of a progressive goal and a progressive dream that became a reality for me. I'm not necessarily an optimist. I'm very much consider myself a realistic optimist. So if I didn't think it was an attainable goal, it wasn't going to be a goal for me. So it kind of became one after I put in the work and came down the line more so.
Okay, so in high school, if I recall correctly, you were like a tight end, outside backer, punter, kicker. What else did you do in high school? Or am I off?
No, you're good. I started out at safety on defense. My freshman year, I moved to corner. My sophomore year, those 2 years I was playing wide receiver on offense, and then I moved into D end my junior year. So I played more tight end and receiver on offense my last 2 years of high school.
Okay, share for our audience how big you are now.
6'4", 300, 301, 302 right now.
Okay, so there's not very many 300-pound wide receivers and safeties and corners. So you kept moving closer to the ball. When you went to Nebraska, I'm sure it was a shock when they first said, "Hey, man, you need to go with the D-line," because I think did you start out at outside backer?
Yeah, we were in a 4-3, so I was playing true D end in the 4-3 my true freshman year. And then we moved to a 3-4 that next year. And they're like, well, you're not really big enough to play end to get on the field, but if you play outside linebacker, you can probably get on the field sooner and help us out. So that's really what I did in the spring, that first spring that Bob Diaco got there. And then after spring ball, they were like, yeah, actually, they didn't think I was good enough. I was doing well enough and picking it up fast enough at outside linebacker. So they were just kind of like, screw it, go back to D end and be a developmental guy. And then they got 3 games into the season that year and weren't really getting the production they wanted. And so they're like, hey, if you can, learn outside linebacker again in 3 days, we'll give you some snaps in the game against Rutger. So that's how I kind of got thrown into the fire my redshirt freshman year, my second year at Nebraska, and hit the field, got some significant snaps, and kind of never looked back from there. Just moved into a starting role after that.
Well, I think one of your most pinnacle moments in Nebraska was against Penn State. And I think it was a COVID year, and you deflected a pass by Will Levis, I believe, that won the Huskers the game at the end of the game. Is that fair?
Yeah, I was sacking him, and he threw it away.
Oh, you got it. That's right.
Yeah.
You sacked him, and then he threw it away.
Yeah,
that's right.
So they didn't credit me with it.
That was close.
But yeah, that was the game ender. And yeah, I don't honestly know who the quarterback was actually, because they were on their like 4th-string quarterback.
Well, we may have to look that up, but I think it was Will Levis because he was the second guy that came in that game, if I'm not mistaken. But I might be wrong. Okay, so you now are with the Arizona Cardinals. Share for the listeners, 2022 draft, you were signed by the Miami Dolphins as an undrafted free agent, made the team. You were on the practice squad, got called up a couple times. And then the Cleveland Browns came calling and wanted to activate you and bring you up to the active roster. Was it in November last year?
It was right around Thanksgiving. Yep,
November. So you took that opportunity. When you get an opportunity to go basically triple your paycheck, you take it. And then you were let go last week and got claimed immediately by the Arizona Cardinals. Kind of walk us through the mindset you've had to have to make these adjustments, to build trust with your coaches, to show value. And you're still in the process of doing that in Arizona. But for a lot of guys, they'll play somewhere for 5 years, they get cut, and then they do get claimed or they get an opportunity and they don't make it because they can't make the adjustment. You're getting a lot of practice in making the adjustment. You'd probably like to stay in Arizona for a while and maybe, be there for the next 5 or 10 years. But it's like, how do you make that adjustment? Because you had to make the adjustment quickly a couple times already.
Yeah, it's kind of been my whole career. It's how I got my, like I said, it's how I got onto the field at Nebraska, was just by being intellectual about the playbook, being able to, adapt quickly, learn things quickly, and get things down. I guess I'd say at Miami, it was just, for me, the NFL is a lot more about a routine than it is in college. College, they kind of set up your routine for you, but in the league, you have nobody to help you do that, and you have to kind of establish your own routine. So that's really what Miami helped me do. Had some really good vets there that showed me the ropes and helped me establish that. And then, with Cleveland, I was on bye week with the Dolphins, ready to go on vacation with my girlfriend at the time, and then got called up on, I think it was Tuesday, must have been Tuesday night. So I got called up then, was in, or maybe it was Monday night, and then got called up, was flown to Cleveland Tuesday morning, and then, throwing the playbook at me there. And after that, I was taking, I took probably 25 snaps in the game that Sunday when we played the Bills in Detroit, actually, because that game got moved. So, there was just a whole bunch of variables. But again, it was just me trying to be adaptable, trying to go with the flow. Opportunity doesn't present itself often in this league. So really just have to take advantage when it does. And so, that was really, I was just waiting, being prepared in Miami. And that definitely helped me out once I got to Cleveland. And then, I walked in the facility last Monday morning or Tuesday morning after workouts on Monday, was getting some breakfast and got the old tap on the shoulder and said, the GM wants to see you. So was definitely out of left field, wasn't expecting that at all. And, that's just another circumstance where being adaptable, going with the flow, waiting for another opportunity to present itself. And luckily it did with the Cardinals. So just going to keep going about my same process, my same consistent process that I've been going about nutritionally, sleep-wise, everything like that. And take that process and apply it to Cardinals because it's gotten me this far. So that's really the only thing I can cling to is my routine and control what I can control.
Well, you've got a reputation of being very smart, being a hard worker, and not just on the field, but off the field, and kind of share with everybody what your academic, you've won a lot of academic awards, been recognized for, if I'm not mistaken, you were academic All-American. So kind of share with that, because not everybody in the locker room has the same IQ that perhaps you have.
Yeah. I was a finalist for, I was academic all district several times in my career at Nebraska, and which is the final step into being academic All-American. So I was never actually crowned an academic All-American, but I was eligible and eligible for it. Never actually got that accolade, but I was a finalist for several other academic awards. Went to school for nutrition and exercise. Got my undergrad and master's in that. while I was at Nebraska for 6 years or 5.5 or so. Um, and then really just other than that, I don't know what I ended up with GPA wise there. I definitely kept football as my priority. I will say if there was ever a time in college that it came down between the two, I chose football every time. So as far as student athlete goes, that's where I put my priority in. But I did my best with the time I had to do well in school. So anyways, I think I ended up with like a 3.7 or so, in what is a pretty much a pre-med undergrad study, so not the easiest. But yeah.
Okay, let's go back to being a rookie in training camp with the Dolphins last August. What was the toughest and maybe most unexpected, perhaps even a little surprised? Not necessarily negative, could be positive, could be a positive surprise. But what was something that when you were done with training camp and you look back, you're like, wow, that was different than what I expected. And then there's two parts to this question. How is that going to benefit you in 2023 in Arizona because of what you learned in 2022?
Yeah, I'd definitely say rookie minicamp honestly was the most difficult, or one of the most difficult parts of camp, which isn't even, part of camp truly. But that the rookie minicamp they run down at the Dolphins, just between the heat and not being acclimated to the heat and the humidity down there, and then they do a lot of 11-on-11 stuff down there in rookie minicamp, which isn't the case everywhere. And me being the only nose guard, which I'd never played nose guard in my life, but I just ended up being the biggest D lineman we had out of the young guys. So I played a ton of nose guard in camp, in OTAs. Really, that's how I made the team, was playing nose guard, which once we got through camp and OTAs and all of that, I never played nose again. But that was the position I played to make the team, which it's similar to end, and the skills transfer over, which is what the D-line coach and what the GM and coaches saw, and knew that would transfer over. But that was a big role. I guess I didn't plan on playing at all at my size in a 3-4 defense. Typically I'd be an end role, which is what I played all throughout college in the 3-4 scheme too. So that helped me a lot, just being adaptable. That's where I could get on the field and get the reps. So just took advantage of those reps at nose.
Well, you got in a couple games before you left Miami. What was the coolest thing about playing in your first regular season NFL game?
Yeah, I mean, the coolest part was it was Sunday Night Football. So that aspect of it, anybody that's played games or been to games, night games, just have more juice to them. On top of that, Sunday Night Football is obviously prime time. There's no other games on. So that's what everyone in the country is watching. So just that whole aspect of it was definitely very cool.
So you have a wonderful partner in Samantha, and she has a sports background as well. How has it been having a partner to go with you on this journey where you are bouncing from city to city, and she probably understands a lot of what you're dealing with more than most? How would you describe that?
Yeah, without a doubt. It's definitely my rock in this whole situation. There's guys, there's a lot of guys actually in my position that my age or rookie class. And while I was in Miami, I think there was only like one other guy that had a significant other at the time, and the rest of them are single guys, which is just a completely different stage of life. I think it would be extremely difficult going through this process. I mean, I've moved in the last 365 days. I've moved 5 times now, from Nebraska to Miami to Cleveland, back to Colorado, and then back to Cleveland, and now to Arizona. So they weren't small moves by any stretch of the imagination. Just kind of the rock star that can handle all of that on her own for the most part, and it makes my life a lot easier when I don't have to worry about moving stuff across the country. I just have all the trust in her, and know she's going to take care of all of that. So it frees me up a lot just to be able to focus on football, which is extremely helpful.
Absolutely. Okay. So in your memory bank, when you think about some of the vets in Cleveland and Miami particularly, and you think of that guy that has figured it out, he's played in the league 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Maybe his athletic abilities have diminished a little bit, but he's still a primetime player. What have you learned from guys like that that's going to help you in your career moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is, I mean, any of the, I'd say, I don't know, 90+% of the dudes that have made it, over the NFL average career have extremely good routines. There's a few guys that are freak athletes that can just show up and get it done on game day, but those guys, most of them have just great routines. They have just kind of vet knowledge, little tricks they have, little, things they've just figured out, verbiage wise and whatnot, that anything they can do to gain an advantage while they're playing from team to team. Football is from team to team is it can be different slightly, but a lot of the coaching trees cross over. There's a lot of verbiage that crosses over. Somebody's got a connection somewhere that has a tip or a cue on a guy, which can be the difference, between you making plays and not making plays. So I think that part of the game, especially for me, as a guy that's not, considered one of the most athletic dudes in the NFL by any stretch of the imagination, just to use all those advantages I can is definitely going to help me prolong my career.
Okay, one of the things I see with young players that have been through similar situations as you're going through is sometimes they take a hit on their confidence. Some guys do, some guys don't. How do you protect your confidence? How do you protect your belief in yourself? Because just because you got let go by Cleveland, really, more than anything, didn't have anything to do with you. It had to do with their plan. And it's like you could take it as, hey, poor me. They don't like me anymore. They don't think I'm good enough. Or you can maintain that belief and confidence in who you are and what you do and understand that this is a job and that you just got to move on to the next company and go do what you do there. So how do you approach potential hits on your confidence that without letting it damage your performance?
Yeah, without a doubt. One team's trash is often another team's treasure. So it's kind of how the league goes. It's a revolving door. Just really, I think some advice that I've gotten from vets is, it's not personal. It's business. It's the way it is. So there's things that, just numbers wise that teams often have to do, especially cuts after camp and whatnot like that. The talent level from team to team varies. When I was in Miami, they had a really strong roster, and there was some good dudes, some real good players that had, been in the league for 5+ years, not making rosters while they were there, just because the sheer numbers game. It comes down to 53 dudes making the roster, and there's a huge influx of college guys coming in year after year. So, just controlling what I can control. I'm going about my process, and until I've been to all 32 teams at the same time with any given situation, I truly don't know, what that room is like and if there's an opportunity for me. So you never know. It changes day to day, the situation in every room, and I'm just going to exhaust every opportunity I have.
Well, self-discipline is part of everybody's routine, and you've shared a couple times that your routine and evolving it, creating it, refining it has helped you perhaps be more prepared, be more stable, be more consistent. What would you like to share that has become a staple of your routine that helps you have more discipline? Like, what are you doing now that when you're done playing, you're never going to do again? I mean, are these lifetime habits or are these NFL habits?
I don't know that there's a difference for me. If I know that it's good for me in my current stage of life, there's no reason that it wouldn't benefit me as a ex retired professional athlete. So in my mind, they're one and the same, and I'm more concerned with just optimizing, my routine, my life, my body. Regardless of what stage in life I'm in. I'm still going to get my 10 hours of sleep when I'm done playing football. You can ask Sam how much I am, I guess, obsessed with my routine, and things that get in the way of it really bug me. So, I mean, the other weird thing that I have that not a lot of people do is my smoothie I do every day for my fruits and vegetables. I just blend all my fruits and vegetables and supplements up into a smoothie every day and get them that way, because I know I need vegetables, but I hate eating them. So that's my way of going about it, which, yeah, definitely will still be something I do after ball too. So I don't think it'll change for me much after football. Definitely try to slim down. Don't want to be 300 pounds for the rest of my life for health reasons, but other than that, I don't think much will change.
So you use the blender as your cheat code for getting in your veggies, man.
Yep.
That's crazy. Okay, let's go back to training camp. And all the rookies are starting to kind of like have these little convos about, hey, man, you think you're going to make it? I think so-and-so might make it. How did you handle that as a rookie? And how will you handle it differently moving forward?
Um, I'd say it's somewhat of a. I mean, after a while, you're all going through it together, and so you as a rookie class definitely tend to bond, just because you're in the same situation, going through stuff like that. But I could tell you the dudes from after 1 week, after 2 week, 2 weeks, who was going to make the team, with pretty much 95% accuracy. Um,
Why? How?
I mean, it's just the dudes that you can tell who's serious about ball and who's not. You can tell the guys that were able to get by with things in college that weren't beneficial for football, and are still going to try to continue to do them. You can see guys just from training, working out, work ethic, all that. Dudes that are going to, that are going to cut reps, dudes that are going to skip sets. You can get away with it in college because talent's not as high, but you can pretty quickly just realize dudes that aren't going to make it, dudes that are concerned with things that aren't beneficial to football. Guys that are going out before workouts, guys that are hitting the casino all the time and spending their energy in the wrong place. It's real obvious, real early on. You can't hide that for too long.
Ben, let's go back to Nebraska. And, went to Nebraska for 6 years to many, many games. So you play lots of times. And there's this saying, quote unquote, there's no place like Nebraska. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, to me, what makes Nebraska special is the people, the fans. I hear it all the time from other people, while I'm in the league now, that I played while in the Big Ten. Whenever they came to Nebraska, just the atmosphere, how loud it was, how electric the atmosphere was, and then just like how genuinely nice the people are there. I think that's a huge difference. I learned pretty quickly going to Miami, which is a completely different culture. Just the general population down there isn't the same, just with how nice people are in Nebraska, and how genuine people are, how caring people are, and willing to help people. So I think that's the main difference.
Okay, so Nebraska was the best, worst team in the country your super senior year. I believe you guys went 3-9. If you could go back and play that season again, and all these dang close games, I mean, they were heartbreakers. Michigan State, some of these games were just insane. You guys should have won. Maybe you wouldn't have done anything differently, but what could you have done, or what do you wish would have been done so that you guys could have been more successful in your super senior season?
Yeah. That was the question when all the scouts, they want to ask you what's the biggest adversity you've been through in your life and all of that. And I don't necessarily have like a big personal one, but that was what I used. Just 5 straight losing seasons at Nebraska. With as important of a sport as football is at Nebraska, that definitely weighs on you. And yeah, for me, it was just going about my daily job the only way I knew how, sticking to the routine, sticking to the process. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm 1/11th of the defense and 1/22nd of the team that's on the field. And so just controlling what I could control. Honestly, I thought, by that point in my career, I was preparing as well as I could. I was, helping the guys in the D-line room and on the defense prepare as well as we could. And defensively, we had improved over the course of my career quite a bit, and just kept improving, which I think we had some solid leadership on defense that allowed that to happen. A lot of 6-year dudes, a lot of dudes that were in my class that had been through a lot, that had grown a lot and become good leaders on that side of the ball, for sure. So I don't think there's really anything else we could have done. I think a lot of it was psychological, and winning becomes a habit, and so does losing. And so I think that affects players' psyches when they're on the field for sure, and kind of just scenarios coming up, and they're like, "All right, here we go again. What's going to go wrong now?" and that kind of thing. So I think that was the biggest part of it, was just psychological. If we could have done something for that, I think for sure.
Yeah, I can remember being down in Norman, Oklahoma when you guys played Oklahoma, and that's what went through my head was, here we go again. It was a PAT return for a touchdown. It was just crazy. Just stuff you can't make up. I mean, in Ohio State, when the kicker on the onside kick, for all intents and purposes, missed the ball. It's like, it was just insane. Okay. So the NFL is such a crazy animal because you're now a veteran, and overnight you become like a veteran. And you may not be making the salary of some of these guys that are making, 8 figures a year. But, if you keep progressing and beating the odds and being who you are and standing for what basically believing who you are, you could be one of those guys someday. I had a young man who was cut 5 times, made $33 million in the NFL, and nobody believed in him. Everybody quit on him. The most important person that didn't quit on him was himself. And that's the thing you got to do, and anybody in your situation. But when you get calls from guys from college and they say, "Hey man, what do I got to do to make it? What do I got to do to, get drafted? What do I got to do to make a roster?" What would you tell somebody that called you with those types of questions?
Yeah, actually had a teammate, reach out that ended up going undrafted to Miami, and reached out kind of with that exact question. Anything I could give him, any tips for while he's down there, and that advice is probably a little more team specific, but really, I think the biggest part is just developing a routine that no matter what the circumstances are, that can't be broken. I think Wes Welker, he would coach receivers down at Miami and gave us a talk during camp, and his kind of rule with his family throughout his obviously very successful career was, don't mess with his Monday through Friday. In the off season, in season, but I think it was more of an off season advice. Weekends, his family, he's free to do whatever, but like his Monday through Friday, that's his routine. And just can't have that messed with. And that ultimately is what helps him have success, and he has his confidence in. So that was definitely something I think is very important. Other than that, I think guys, especially undrafted position, there's undrafted dudes that make the roster all the time. So why not you be one of them? and just knowing that what you're willing to do is more than anyone else, especially in the rookie class and the undrafted class. Just know that you're willing to do more than they are, that it means more to you. I think that ultimately has a lot of determination of whether you make the team. Obviously there has to be some skill to go with it, but you wouldn't be in that position or at that place if you didn't have at least a baseline level of skill to be on a team.
What I'm thinking about, Ben, is you're in a game and it's a big play. And it could have been at Nebraska, it could have been at one of the two teams you've been at in the NFL. Just from the perspective of how do you deal with blocking out the noise? How do you deal with that little voice on your shoulder that says, "Hey man, don't mess this up. Coach is going to be pulling me after this play." It's called mindfulness. And mindfulness is when you're totally present in the moment, you're locked in, and all that BS, you're not thinking about all that stuff, even though it's trying to creep into your mind. How do you, as a young man that's performing on TV in front of lots of people, and everybody knows how much you make, and if you make a great play, you get a lot of credit, and if you mess up, everybody's talking smack on you on Twitter. How do you lock in? How do you be present? And it's a practice that you get to duplicate and replicate many, many times during the course of a season, because you've got to do it in training camp. You got to do it in the preseason, not just on a 4th and 1. You got to do it every play in the NFL. You have to do it in practice. How do you do it?
No, I really think it stems from just my faith in Jesus Christ. In my mind, just playing for him, and really his judgment is the only that matters to me. So being able to block out everything else, which obviously is inevitable, you're going to get criticism, and it's not like you aren't going to see it or aren't going to hear it. It's impossible to necessarily not see it, but just to not absorb it, I think is the key. Not to let it seep into who you are and let it affect your confidence. And just putting my faith in that is ultimately, I think the best part of just applying my faith to my sport. I think that was a huge step for me. Just being able to figure out, that my faith isn't something that's just lived out in church. It's lived out in my day-to-day life. And ultimately, God has called me to be a professional football player. And so that's where I spend most of my time. And that's where, in this stage of my life, that I'm called to live out my faith. So I think that's been the most helpful thing for me, for sure.
That's fantastic. One of the most important things for guys is to know who they are and know whose they are, and to basically have a handle on their identity, because the circumstances are going to change. Sometimes you're going to be swimming upstream. Sometimes you're going to be going into basically a web of adversity when you get to the NFL. And so if you know who you are, you got a great chance. If you don't know who you are, good luck, because you might not. If you don't know who you are, that's the guys you were talking about that you could almost guess they were going to get cut because they don't even know who in the heck they are. So let's go to a more lighthearted topic. You're getting married this summer. Where are you guys going on your honeymoon?
We actually don't have a honeymoon set up. We're getting married in the break right before camp. So it's kind of just our circumstances in our life, the way it presents. We're getting married at about a month right before camp. And obviously camp is, the most important part of an NFL career, makes or breaks your career. And so for me, and Sam obviously is very understanding of this, but that's my most important time to be locked in on my training, conditioning, nutrition, and all of that. And that's hard to do on a honeymoon. So we haven't necessarily figured that out yet, but we will be taking one hopefully in the off season in the next year or two here.
Well, that's not a bad idea. All right, Ben. So like most young people that get married, they want to have kids. If you're fortunate enough to have some sons, and obviously your parents had 3 boys, do you want them to play football? And you have a future brother-in-law that played college football. And if you don't want to play football, why not?
Yeah, Sam and I have talked about it a little bit. Definitely won't be playing contact or tackle football prior to high school or anything. I didn't start, playing football until middle school. Playing contact football or any form of organized. I didn't even play flag or anything before that. Just played at recess. And so I don't think there's any benefit to starting in Pee Wee or anything like that. But the reality of the game is it's a contact sport, it's a physical sport. I don't think kids before they hit puberty or have really had time to develop is, beneficial in any way for them. I think just a lot of people, they don't have the long game in mind when they're allowing their kids to play a sport like that, or even the kid themselves. The reality is I've been playing since seventh grade. So that's 6 years of, pre-college ball tackle, and then that's 6 years of college ball. That's 12, and now I'm on year 2 in the league. That's 14, that's over half my life that I've been playing tackle football. So it takes a toll on your body for sure. I think if you can get to the league with less years on your body, playing tackle football, I think that's ideal. To be honest, I kind of took the long route, which is my path, and that was my journey to get here, and it's worked out for me fine. I think that's really our thought that has gone into it. I love the sport. I want to coach it when I'm done playing. It's kind of really all I know. I've dedicated so much of my life to it. I think I want to just use football in a coaching mindset to be able to give kids the information, give them the suggestions, the tips to succeed at the next level, at the college level that I didn't have coming from small town Nebraska. Nobody really had played D1 college football, on scholarship or anything like that. So that was very much a new experience for me, and I think it's definitely helpful to have someone that's been through it give you some wisdom.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to have a conversation with your future self. And when the sun sets on your NFL career, and let's say that's 5 years from now, 8 years from now, I don't want to pick a time because it's going to be somewhere down the road. And you look back and you're sharing perhaps with your, 7-year-old son. What do you want to be able to tell him about your NFL career?
I think the thing that stands out to me is I think just making the most of your opportunities, maximizing my potential, not comparing myself to other players. Other players have higher ceilings than me, and I'm dealt with the genetics and all those circumstances that I've been dealt with. And so really, I think the mark or the measure of a true man is just how much of your potential you've maximized and gotten every ounce out of that. I think to me that for my past teammates, guys like that are guys I truly respect in college and in the league, dudes that are able to do that. I respect those guys way more than the dudes that, only meet half their potential because, they didn't want to put the time in or the work in or a number of things and to be disciplined enough. So I think that's what stands out to me the most as being important.
Okay, I'm going to give you a challenge. I want to thank you for being on Pro Mindset Podcast, number one. Number two is I want to challenge you to reach your full potential. And I believe you have a lot more athleticism than you even maybe think you have. And the thing that you're going to find as you matriculate through this career that we call the NFL is that you're probably more athletic than maybe even some of the coaches have led you to believe, because the whole draft process is beating people up. So, certain people feel the brunt of that, and you probably got a little bit of that through just that process. Oh, it's not this enough, not that enough. I mean, it's holy smokes. You're playing in the NFL. You're on an NFL team. So my challenge to you is to figure out who you want to be, who you are, what you stand for, what you want out of this journey and venture in the NFL. And then go get it. And don't let anybody, don't let some coach, some GM, some scout, some media guy tell you who you are. If you can control and not allow any of those thoughts in and those comments and those opinions and just be who you are, you'll go a lot farther in the league than you will if you don't.
No doubt. I appreciate it, Craig.
I want to thank you for tuning in to Pro Mindset Podcast. If you enjoyed the listen, please leave a 5-star rating. If the message was a vibration you connected with and you have any friends, family, or colleagues who would benefit, then please share this episode with them. You can follow Pro Mindset Podcast on the following social media platforms: Instagram and YouTube, Pro Mindset Podcast; Twitter and Facebook, Pro Mindset Pod; LinkedIn, Pro Mindset. We will drop our shows, Pro Mindset Podcasts, every Wednesday morning, and we invite you to listen and subscribe. Also, don't hesitate to check out our archives to listen to previous shows. And finally, I encourage you to embrace a Pro Mindset truth from today's show. It just might be the key to unlock the pro inside you.